Coach, is there a specific new trait now as the offensive coordinator that you want to kind of put on this offense, or a mindset or an attitude?
I, I would say mindset is we want to continue to be physical. You want to run the ball. You got to run the ball late in the year, late in the game, late in the year. So I think that's always a mindset of physicality. That's the Power Cat. That's K-State. That's who this program's been for a long time. And so I think we want that. But, I just think aggressive, and you're taking shots and you're using the weapons that you have and trying to use them to the best of your ability as a coach and give kids, opportunities to make plays down the field. And everybody wants to be involved. Everybody wants touches. And so that is, our job as a play caller, as a staff that's calling the plays and designing the plays to get the ball in the hands of those guys, whether it's Dylan or it's Jace or JB or Tibbs or our tight end room. And then, number two's distributing the ball. And everything that he can do, I think, expands what we do. But he, the more Avery grows and learns and develops, the more we do. And man, I've been so proud of him for the last 4 months, and he has grown, his leadership, his maturity, but in his knowledge, football knowledge, our specific knowledge of this system, and maybe even some new things and maybe old things and all of that combined. But man, he's been awesome for the last few months.
I know there hasn't been a ton of practices, and you're trying to get probably a ton of things accomplished. But is there, any player that you were like, maybe we don't know if he's going to help us out this year? Now you think you will?
Oh, yeah. I think. Well, first of all, the easy ones are the new guys. Just the George and Amos up front. I'm excited about both of those guys. They've had good springs and have fit in well here. And in their roles, JB and Tibbs, I just mentioned them. Jamari Davis, JD. He's twitchy, and he's explosive, and he continues to find, his way in this offense and a role for him. Tibbs and JB give us a big presence out on the edge, physical presence, athletic, physical blockers, good route runners. And so that those, when you think about new guys, those are some of the new pieces that we have on offense, and I like all those guys. And then guys continue to improve, and we've got some guys that are out with some injuries from the season, but I like all those pieces, and the guys up front, those two O-linemen. Sorely needed, just because we lost some guys to graduation, right? So we needed those guys, and we need some of these other young guys to develop. And we've got some younger old linemen. I just mentioned all the transfers right there.
You mentioned Avery over the last 4 months or so, but the offense as a whole, what kind of progression have you seen through that extended strength and conditioning and now into the compressed spring?
Yeah, when you talk about, and I don't know, Coach has mentioned to you guys that I've noticed it in Avery, the 9 months and him gaining weight, and he's right at 200, and he's gotten bigger, he's gotten faster. He's literally gotten faster. He's holding it well, and I think he'll gain some more over the summer and start camp, the heaviest has been, but he'll also start camp the fastest that he's been too. So you've seen that growth. I mean, Dylan's grown. He's got his lowers. Jace has gained weight. That's easy to see in some of those guys because I've seen them for a year compared to like the transfers. But I see a guy like TP, Taylor Portier, who's had some injury history before I got here. He's moving very, very well, and you talk to like Brian Anderson, he'll tell you he's moving as well as he's ever moved here. So I see the benefits, like from some of those guys I've just mentioned, from Coach True and his staff and what they've done for 9 weeks. They've done a really good job down there.
You've got guys like Avery and Dylan and Jace, some really dynamic guys, a lot of speed. Does that kind of get your attention as a play caller?
I like fast. Yeah. Yeah. I like the physical guys up front, but man, when you're going to throw the ball, it's matchups. I mean, let's be real. It becomes, I mean, if it's zone, at some point, just like basketball, it becomes man to man. And if you're playing man, it's like, I got you, and can I beat you on a route, and can you run and scheme up the right combos for those guys? But you can't coach speed, and that's the old coach's cliche, but that's real. And Dylan, what he can do in space, and Joe Jackson, you saw the combination with those guys in the bowl game. They're athletic, and you got to get those guys the ball in space, and they've got to have enough targets because guys can take them away. And so much in the passing game, it's like, well, I want to get him the ball. Well, him needs to be the first, second, or third option. Avery can get to 4 and 5 in some fulfilled reads, and the fourth or the fifth guy could be, Tibbs on the backside with the running back on the backside. And sometimes that's actually hard to dictate where guys are getting the ball in the passing game. And it's taking what the defense gives you. But, I think all of those guys give you weapons out on the perimeter.
You've coached a lot of quarterbacks. Is there a comp for Avery in your history?
Good question. I'm just pausing to think because he has got he's got characteristics of a few of them. I think they're all their own men, their own quarterback. Jordan is, elite. Jordan's grown, and he's grown physically, and he's grown in terms of his development, and he's certainly taken off in the NFL. Credit to him. I had a guy at Utah State once named Chucky Keaton, and he was dynamic, like really dynamic, probably a little twitchier side to side than Avery, but not near as fast vertically as Avery. They're similar. They both throw the ball on the run well. Jordan throws the ball very, very well on the run, and so there's some similarities like that. I can see some of those. Those are two different types of physical attributes of quarterbacks that I had coached at Utah State, but they all three have a few things in common, which is way cool for me. Is number one, they're all three really, really good teammates. They're hungry to learn. They're very, very coachable, like sponges. They have a heart of humility and thankfulness for opportunities and the people around them. They all three have that characteristic, and which I think is pretty cool because I do think that makes them a better teammate. And all three of those guys are tremendous leaders and teammates, but they all three have it. Like they're the nicest guy ever. But when they get inside 53 1/3, I mean, they're a dog. They're a competitor. And they have the mindset that I'm the best one out of 22 on the field at that time. And that's something that I think you either have it or you don't. And that's a special trait that Avery has that both of those guys had. So that's just, directly answering your question of going back and seeing some similarities, yet differences in all three of them, but they were all three winners.
You mentioned Jerron Bradley, and I know you coached him, or you have familiarity with him dating back to Texas Tech. How has he grown from, I guess, when you first saw him to now that he's in, I guess, his third team in a new environment?
Yeah, I've known JB since I think he was 16. Smile hasn't changed. He's got a great smile. He's got a great demeanor, great mom, dad. He's raised the right way. He's got really soft hands. He's got very natural ball skills. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. And I think his want to win and want to have a really, really good individual season and kind of an edge to him has grown maybe over the last couple years. And I think sometimes you get that with the transfer. You need to have that as a transfer. You need to have an edge to you and a reason why you're leaving a good program. And I think JB has that and wants to go out. But you can have that selfish individual goal, okay, within a team concept and a team atmosphere. And he does that. And he's a great teammate. And I appreciate that about him. And always willing to go the extra mile and to work hard. And so those things haven't changed with him.
You mentioned Avery, and when you look back at his first full season starting, was there one thing that you sort of pinpointed where you felt he needed to improve to be able to take that next step as a quarterback?
Yeah, I think specific things that we're working on, whether it's pocket movement and a presence in the pocket and his footwork and his base, a deep ball. I think those are things that come to mind right now. But I think there's also a leadership component that I've seen grow in him naturally over the years. Sometimes people want to, just give the quarterback position all this leadership, and certainly there is a leadership platform that comes with the quarterback position, but you have to grow into that naturally, and he was willing to do that. I wanted him to just play well last year, and a lot of times, and let your play speak for yourself, and then let that create the platform, because I do think there's a factor of leadership in its performance. I mean, you got to perform. You have to perform to lead. Not all performers can lead, but leaders struggle, or they have a ceiling if they don't perform well enough or consistently enough. And so that's a key component. And so I think that's part of it. And I think he's got a check mark there in a lot of ways. But, I appreciate and respect the way he has gone about. Where the heck am I from? Oklahoma. He has gone about just letting it naturally progress, and with our team and our offensive unit, and just really good. But I'm going to tell you, you'd be hard pressed to find a guy that works any harder than him in our building, whether it's in the film room or doing extra physically. And those players in the locker room know that. And we've certainly got other leaders around him, and we need other leaders around him. He's not the only one that can lead or will lead. We need others. But I'm proud of him for that growth. He's made a lot of strides in that area.
I'm interested a little bit more on JB and on Tibbs. When I first signed with K-State, they were just excited. They wanted the opportunity to show what they could do. Now that they're here, from a tactician standpoint, from a dog standpoint, what do you see from each of those guys? What makes them tick? What makes them so effective as wide receivers?
They're confident, and they're confident. They've got a physical presence to both of them, but they're confident. They're good route runners. I don't think any coach up here ever says somebody's a great route runner, because we can all improve. I'll never say Avery's a great quarterback and perfect at all this, because there's a lot of room for improvement for him. But they're very good route runners that are getting better, understanding the scheme and where the timing and the depths of the route, which is a timing thing for the quarterback. But I say more than anything, they're confident. They got really good hand-eye coordination, and they've got really good ball skills. There's been very minimal drops. You're going to have some drops if you give them enough targets. There's going to be a drop or two, but I can live with those guys right now because of all the catches they're making. They're making competitive catches, and then they're really good. They've been good blockers on the perimeter, and so our perimeter blocking has improved, I think, overall. There's still growth to go there, but part of that's because of them.
Can you see they've only been here a matter of months? Can you look forward a little bit and kind of gauge perhaps what their potential could be come fall?
Yeah, they'll be really good. They're gonna catch a lot of balls. You put those two and Jace in our tight end room, and JD, and then you add our running backs, and our Joe and Dylan can catch the ball, and Dylan will and can go play in the slot with Joe, without Joe. Joe can flex out, and Joe can run routes, and so I love that about both backs, that they can catch balls.
Your brother's here.
Oh gosh, he's coming in a little bit. Y'all can talk to him in a little bit.
Yeah, but also LePack and Little. They move up. I'm just wondering about the camaraderie, the jam sessions. How's it been with this group?
Good. Man, I'm happy for Brian and his promotion. Very well deserved. No question. Smart guy. Esquire. You know, guy's got a law degree. I mean, that's pretty cool, isn't it? And Drew's been around here a long time. He's an alumni and played here, and he gets it. And he's helped me. He's helped me in my transition to Kansas State and learning about the rich history of this program. And Drew's a really good coach. O-line, tight ends, he gets it. Having Luke in that room is awesome. Luke's a very, very good coach. He's a very good technician with the tight ends. He's walked into a very good tight end room, and Brian left it in really good shape. He's got a good player coming in here in a couple months to add to that room, but he's done a good job, and he's a really good coach. He's a really good recruiter. He's a good team guy. He's a good staff guy. So we've got good camaraderie in there with those guys, and I'm happy for the promotions that you first mentioned. They're well deserved.
Coach, you touched there on the tight ends room. Obviously had a lot of success last season. How special will this tight end group be next season, especially with a guy like Lincoln Kier coming in?
Yeah, I think probably remains to be seen. Is the growth? Will that be there? Over the next couple months? Will the edge be there for that room? I think so. From Braden Lofton and Garrett Oakley to Will. Will may be one of the more improved players on our team. Will's had a phenomenal spring. When you asked me the question on the new guys, like I was talking about the new guys, I haven't really talked about like some of the returners, but Will's one of those guys that has improved a lot. Gus Hawkins is in that same, Kyle Rockers and Navarro Shunky, and with some young old linemen that I've seen growth. But Will's in that category. And then you got the old vet Swanee, and Swanee can play inline, he can flex out. He's really, really smart. And then you got a talented guy, with Lincoln coming in, and we're excited about that group. There's a lot of potential there to play in multiple personnel groups. With those guys, they can flex out, they can play inline, they can line up in the backfield, they can flex out. I like those guys, and but challenging them and to have an edge, to have that, they're very well aware they led the country in red zone touchdown catches. We've added a couple pieces that ought to catch a couple balls in the red zone this year too with those wideouts. But their production will be high. We'll throw them the ball, and they do a good job in our run game.
Anything else? That's one more. The whole house versus NCAA. I know the coaches have talked about potentially cutting some numbers down. Of course, it just depends on if there's an amendment or not. Yeah. But also 5 less practices, and you, as an offensive coordinator, are there just added challenges for yourself this spring to maybe get a lot done in a short amount of time?
Yeah, but everybody's, there is. And throw on top of that, training camp starts a week earlier. We all have challenges. Every profession has challenges. We're certainly going through some different times in college football right now. I'm glad I'm not the head coach. I don't miss that. But what coach has to deal with on an everyday basis is different, and it's changing every day. And most of it and a lot of it's out of his control. And he does a phenomenal job of managing it as well as leading our program and leading us in the direction that we're going. But no, we're good. We got plenty of time to get ready for Iowa State in the season. And, I think every coordinator wants more call-outs and more play drives and more periods in spring ball that you get to just call it. But it is what it is, so we'll be just fine.